Hello students, I would like to say it's nice to see you, but obviously I can't see you. Hopefully you enjoy seeing a teacher, even if it's not Ms. McKenzie or Mr. Foz or the rest, it's just a student teacher. But I'm here to talk to you some more about theoretical and experimental probability. If you did not do yesterday's assignment, it involved spinning an electronic wheel several times and recording the result. It involved an Edpuzzle, a very short video with a lot of questions. You need to go back and do that, otherwise you won't understand what we're doing here. I'm going to talk about theoretical and experimental probability in the context of gambling. And if you've ever seen commercials for the Oregon State Lottery or for casinos or for Las Vegas, they always show people excitedly jumping up and down because they've just made a lot of money. The lottery, which is run by the state, will always publish the names of people who win big jackpots. And so you might wonder, gosh, if all these people are making all this money gambling, how do casinos and things stay in business? Well, in general, if you're a smart person and an ethical person, you should be able to make good money running a casino. And I'm going to demonstrate one of the ways they make money, which is going to lead into our activity today. One of the most well-known games in casinos is called roulette, and there is a wheel that spins round and round, much more numbers than the wheels you had online yesterday, and a little ball falls into one of the slots. And you can bet on a red number or a black number or an even or an odd number, but the most famous kind of bet is when you bet on a single number. Let's say you bet that on the next spin of the wheel that it's going to be number 14 that the ball lands on. And you decide that you're going to bet $10 on that. It turns out that if you win, if the ball falls on 14, then you get paid 35 times what your bet was. So a $10 bet would earn you $350. And that seems great. Except you might scratch your heads and say, well, Mr. Collins, there's 36 numbers over here, so shouldn't the payoff be 36 times, because it was a 1 in 36 chance of getting it and you got it? Well, that's how the house makes its money. Not only that, but the house also has some added numbers. If you look at the little blue arrows, 0 and 00 mean that there's actually 38 numbers on the wheel. And so even though you're getting paid as though it's a 1 in 35 chance, it's actually a 1 in 38 chance. And that increased odds on the basis of, or on the advantage of the house, is what makes them or helps them make money. I'm going to go a little further with this. Yesterday you did an activity where I asked you to, and this was an activity in your online core Focus on Math program, where it asked you to color the spinner to match the given probabilities. And when you did your math, you should have come up with the following numbers: 10, 6, 4, and 4. A quick review on how we get these numbers, and I'll use an easy one for an example. If the odds are 5 and 12 that it's going to land on yellow, how come you put 10? Well, we were looking at 24 spins. There is a 5 and 12 chance that it's going to land on yellow, but if you spin it 24 times, you actually should get 10 different yellows. Let's look at 1 quarter. If the odds of landing on blue are 1 in 4, then what are the odds of landing on blue if it's going to be 24 rolls or spins of the wheel? Well, you can set it up where you say, well, it's 4 times 6 gave me 24, and therefore 1 times 6 gives me 6 here. And 6 out of 24 also equals 25%. There's a 25% chance that it's going to land on blue. So if you do 24 spins, 25% or a quarter of 24 is 6. So it should land on it should land on blue 6 times. However, you were asked to go to a site and to set up a spinner and to count how many times each color got chosen. Ms. McKenzie's daughter has been great test driving these lesson plans. I always make them a couple of days in advance. And she came up with the following numbers when she did it. Her experimental values, these are the theoretical values. In theory, this is how often these things should show up. In actuality, when she did the experiment, what Ms. Mackenzie's daughter came up with was 11 yellows, so one extra yellow than expected, 7 blues, so an extra blue as well, only 1 green, even though the theoretical number was 4, and then there were 5 reds. So there can be a lot of variability between the theoretical value and the experimental value. What does this have to do with casinos? Casinos deal with big numbers. And the point I'm going to try to communicate to you today is that the more you do an experiment, or the more trials that you have in an experiment, the more the experimental values tend to align with the theoretical values. Here's the idea. I'm going to ask you to stop the video, or there's going to be a pop-up box that tells you to stop the video, and go and get a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and get a coin. And what you're going to do is you're going to flip that coin over and over and over again, and you're going to come up with experimental values. Theoretically, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to be heads or tails. That's the only options. So theoretically, after a certain number of times, you should have an equal number of heads and tails. So what you're going to do is you're going to flip the coin 25 times and tally them. I suggest tallying them this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it makes it easier to count and keep track of. And then after you have done 25 flips, you're going to calculate what the experimental value is. And after you've done 50 flips, you're going to compare the experiment, or calculate the experimental value. And then after 100 flips, you're going to do the experimental value. How do you calculate this? Well, if after 25 flips, let me make sure, 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. After 25 flips, I have 14 heads. So I can do the same thing I did with the other numbers there. 14 out of 25 equals what out of 100? Because what we're looking for is a percentage. And in order to get 100, I multiplied 25 by 4. So I could multiply 14 by 4. And that will give me, let's see, 14 plus 14 is 28. 28 plus 28 is 56. Or if you want to do it a really easy way, you could just say, what's 14 divided by 25? And you will get 0.56. And 0.56 equals 56%. So after 25 flips, 56% of my flips were heads. If 56 of my flips were heads, then I guess I better calculate the tails. The easiest way to do this is to say, well, I'm looking at 100% of the things. If there were 56 heads, 100% minus 56% means that I had 44% tails. So if this was my experimental data set, I would put 56% and 45% after 25. And then keep on flipping. Don't start a new number. You're going to flip until you get to 50 total, and then you're going to calculate the values again. The same thing. How many values out of 50, and get a percentage, and give me the heads percentage and the tails percentage. And then when you get to 100 flips, then it will be even simpler, because whatever number of heads you had, that's the percentage. If you got 48 out of 100, that's 48%. And it will be easy to calculate the tails as well. So this is what your paper might look like as you're doing it. Heads, tails, and you're just counting heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails. Again, I'm not sure if I'm quite up to 50 yet, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 46, 47, 48. So I still have 2 more flips to do here, and then I would calculate my 50. And then I would continue until I got to 100, and I would calculate my 100. What you should see happening as you increase the number of trials or increase the sample size of the flipping is that the heads and tails, the experimental value, hopefully is going to be getting closer and closer to the theoretical value. 100 is actually not a whole lot. You could do this all the way to 200 and see what happens. If you did it all the way to 1,000,000, then I think what you would find is that the heads and tails would be pretty even with each other. There would be a very little difference. But again, when you have a small sample size, then it's harder to see the experimental being in sync with the theoretical. By the way, if you flipped a coin 1,000,000 times, I think you might find that it might land on its edge once or twice, because coins can do that. So when you get into the big numbers, there's a tendency to line up with the theoretical values, but some very, very funny stuff can happen as well. And that's why casinos make money, because they don't just have 1 or 2 spins of the roulette wheel and people get lucky and walk away with money. The lottery doesn't just have people win big money and they lose money on it. The point of those is there's millions of people playing the lottery, and they're playing it multiple times. And there are millions of people walking into casinos and pulling the levers on jackpot machines. And in the end, the house always wins. The house always has the advantage. People might hit a jackpot from time to time and win something, but the house always wins because the big numbers are always going to be in favor of the house.